Mothers. Everyone has one, or at least came from one. Though when it comes to all types of fiction, one popular character trait is the token mother figure, and anime is no exception. Anime mothers can be one of the highlights of their respective titles, when or if they're done right, especially in the world of MILFs and waifus. But it's not without its more genuine, legit reasons. They can be likable, wholesome, and can reflect what we love about our own mothers. Which is why for my first top 10, I'm gonna count down my favorite mothers in anime. At the end of Thanksgiving time. 7 months after Mother's Day. Mothers can be something to be thankful for. Oh wait, my mom was born in this month, as well as other mothers presumably. There's my legit connection. Yeah, let's go with that. On to the list. Number 10. Misuzu Misaka from Raildex. Being the mother of one of the 7 level 5s of Academy City, you'd think she would be as serious and proud as her daughter. And that's amusingly not the case with Misuzu. Despite being Misaka's mom, she's childish, irresponsible, and can be quite the heavy drinker. Also adding her well-endowed figure that amusingly contrasts her daughter's, and how giddy she gets every time she hears about Misaka being around that quote-unquote idiot Toma. But despite all that, there is still that side to her that is a responsible and loving mother, as displayed in the last episode of Index Season 2, showing concern about Mikoto being in Academy City, but feeling reassured by people like Toma protecting her. Again, with her bubbly personality and raspy voice, makes her a mom I'd like to see more of. Number 9. Homily from The Secret World of Arrietty. Whereas Misuzu is on the fun-loving, carefree side, Homily is more or less the complete opposite, falling more into the worrying mother trope. Most of her character is defined by how easily frightened and antsy she could be, but it's totally understandable given her life as a very tiny borrower, and an endangered one at that. Heck, I'd say it really makes you care and feel concerned for her when she gets captured by the maid Haru, and makes you root for Arrietty and Sho to save her, resulting in quite the climax. Plus, having the American dub does make Homily one of my favorite roles by Amy Poehler. Number 8. Inko Midoriya from My Hero Academia. The moment you're introduced to this woman, you can easily see where Deku got most of his genes from, but I don't think I would have it any other way. Like Homily, she's quite the worrywart, but for a damn good reason. Having her son be part of the quirkless minority, thus being an outcast as a result, has to be one of, if not the worst thing to constantly worry about when you have a child going through such turmoil growing up. And even when things start looking up for Deku once he enters UA, she still has to worry about her son constantly breaking a bone in his body, and being a target to dangerous villains. But it's all the concern that makes her love and support for Deku strong. And just like him, you just want to give her a hug and tell her everything will be okay, and assure her that he'll become the greatest hero ever. Plus, she's quite the beauty, no matter what her shape. Number 7. Sachiko Fujimura from Erased. Now here's a lady who just screams dream mom. She's loving and caring, but has the sense of humor to be funny and sarcastic around her kid. She has a job, but it's one as an investigative journalist, which seems to play a big role in the story as it's something Satoru picks up to try and stop the killer. But also when she helps him out trying to solve the mystery. And I think that's what's so heartwarming about Sachiko. How far she'll go to help her son out, even if she doesn't know the full context, loving him that much. And much like Doc Brown, she gets killed off before the time traveling starts, and we spend the rest of the story with the past version of herself, making us root for our time traveling hero to stop her cruel fate, leading to one hell of a tear-jerking resolution. Number 6. Sanae Furukawa from Clannad. Now here's something unique for key standards. A character who still has both of her parents and having a very strong, wholesome dynamic with them, and Sanai compliments her daughter and husband very well. Even if her baking isn't the best and she never seems to take it very well, the love she has for her family really shows. Giving up her stage career along with her husband so they could raise Nagisa, always there to support her, eventually supporting Toma in his love for her daughter, and it only goes further once After Story rolls around, having to live on with her daughter dead, raising her granddaughter for 5 years, and even convince Ushio that Tomoya was her dad and he is the one that should raise her. Despite all that happens to her throughout Clannad, she is always good-hearted, cheerful, supporting, and an all-around loving mom. Number 5. Trisha Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. It would honestly be sacrilege to do a list like this and not feature the woman who raised the Elric brothers. Despite her posthumous status, her role is still what drives the characters and is the heart of FMA. Whenever the story cuts back to when she was alive and how loving and supportive she was to her boys, you easily get why Edward and Alphonse tried to resurrect her through alchemy, even if their failure led to major repercussions. From the chemistry they shared, you can tell that she was the best thing that happened in Hohenheim's life, despite feeling like a total monster. But she told him that he wasn't a monster, as she saw the good in him. You almost wish the Elric brothers succeeded in bringing her back to life despite the story ending right there. Number 4. Miyako Ishida from A Silent Voice. It's amazing how such a hateable dick like young Shoya could have a mother so sweet and pure. Though it does give us a dynamic that I feel we rarely see. Where other stories write the bully's parents as mean or even abusive, as if to explain their behavior, Miyako loves Shoya and does try her best to raise him right. So when she does learn about Shoya bullying Shoko, she's genuinely disappointed in him and takes responsibility for his actions, even taking in an injury from Miss Nishimiya. Not to mention that she's the only one that gives Shoya actual discipline. And despite all of his mistakes, Miyako never gives up on him and manages to be comforting towards Shoko and her mom, making her one of the best characters in the movie. Number 3. Bulma from Dragon Ball Z. There's a lot I can say about Bulma's character, but for now I'll just focus on her motherly side. I bet everyone didn't expect her to hook up with Vegeta of all people, after that on-again, off-again thing with Yamcha. Though without that, she wouldn't have had Trunks to raise, who would be a key player in the Cell Saga. Whether it's the present or in the future, she seems to be willing to give Trunks the means to travel back to help everyone else, and change their future for the better, even if it leads to an untimely demise. If that doesn't show love and dedication, I don't know what does. And given her relationship with her parents, we might have an idea of where she gets it from. Number 2. Akiko Minase from Canon. Here's an anime mother that marks as one of my first, and still holds up as a top 5 contender. Whether it's taking care of her daughter Nayuki or her nephew Yuichi, she always does it with a warm smile on her face. But it doesn't stop at those two. If it's a random girl who isn't related to her that just so happens to have nowhere to go, like Mikoto at first and eventually Ayu, she welcomes them with open arms and provides them like they're part of the family. Though it does lead to questions like how can she afford to provide all these people at once, which is kind of answered when she mentions her office job in a mostly vague way. But it still shows great character in a woman who is pretty much a mother to everyone closest to her. Though I'm still both curious and scared to know what's in that infamous jam of hers, especially with how all the others react to it. And my number 1 favorite mother figure in anime is Hana from Wolf Children. Now Hana shares a lot in common with most of the other entries on this list. But what makes her stand out and distinct from the rest is the unique struggles that she has to fight and the measures she takes to conquer them. Think raising 2 kids is tough enough? Try raising 2 kids who are also part wolf. And the one person who can make it so much more easier inexplicably dies, leaving you on your own. Some lesser mother would just call it quits right there, but not Hana. She does whatever it takes to learn what she possibly can to make sure Yuki and Ame are raised the best way, from giving birth without a hospital or midwife, to nursing them without the aid of doctors or vets, to having to move into the country for the sake of her kids, and having to fix up an old beat-up house with bugs and decay on her own, all without complaining or breaking a sweat. Now that's commitment. And while it doesn't shy away from all the stress and sacrifices she has to go through, it knows how to balance it out with her love and commitment and all the joy she gets from it. And her arc eventually comes full circle when she has to go through the toughest part of being a parent, learning to let her children go. And the stances that Yuki and Ame start out in the film, and when and how they drastically change until the climax, leads to one uplifting, bittersweet conclusion that will leave you misty-eyed. So yeah, Hana, number 1. Anyways, that's my list. If there were any mothers you wanted to see on this list but didn't, well, keep in mind, it's my list. You've heard it, now let me hear yours. What are some of your favorite anime mothers? Feel free to share in the comments down below. This is Afro Otaku, and I'll catch you all later. Bye!